So Trump just passed this new executive order where if you have been protesting in the US while on a student visa, or if you had a green card or whatever, you are permanent resident, whatever it is, he's sending those people back.
Donald Trump announced that his administration will be canceling visas for students who express pro-Palestine views on campus, and he will be deporting them. In a statement, Trump says, quote, "To all the resident aliens who joined in protests, we put you on notice. Come, we'll find you and we will deport you. I will also quickly cancel the student visas of Hamas sympathizers on college campuses, which have been infested with radicalism like never before." Wow, nothing like making students feel safe in this country by going after anyone and everyone who expresses opinions that conflict with those of the U.S. government.
Trump and the Republicans have a plan to crush the pro-Palestine movement in the US in the next 1 to 2 years. So let's talk about exactly how they're going to do it and what we can do to prepare ourselves. This is all written down in what's called Project Esther, which is created by the same organization that brought us Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation. Project Esther claims that there's a massive H group support network inside the United States that has infiltrated the media, universities, the government, and even the internet itself. Organizations like Jewish Voices for Peace, Students for Justice in Palestine, and others are considered H group support organizations funded by Iran via non-profit foundations. And of course, as always, this is apparently all part of a global conspiracy to destroy American democracy and freedom. Project Esther basically has 4 parts to it. And like Project 2025, many of the policies and ideas laid out in Project Esther are already being implemented. First is controlling education, especially on college campuses, by deporting or blacklisting professors and students who are critical of Israel, removing Palestinian stories from schools and replacing them with Israeli narratives, and limiting federal funding to colleges that divest from Israel. Second is controlling social media by suppressing or outright banning pro-Palestinian content. Third, they want to cut off funding to any organization that supports the Palestinian cause. This is why a couple months ago they introduced a non-profit killer bill, which allows the government to revoke tax-exempt status from any non-profit organization that the government doesn't agree with. Lastly, they want to discredit the movement publicly and sow division within the movement itself. This includes conducting mass surveillance on protesters and even manufacturing situations that make the Palestine movement look bad. And we're already seeing that happen too. After the recent attack in New Orleans on New Year's Day, mainstream media didn't waste any time in trying to link it with the Palestine movement by reporting it as a potential spillover from the resistance in the Middle East. The goal of all of this very clearly is to eradicate any support for Palestine from all levels of society with a very targeted campaign. Historically, whenever there's a growing mass movement that is becoming a real threat to the empire's interests, crackdown campaigns happen, and we're seeing all of the signs of it again today. And yes, this is all pretty scary to hear, but the difference now is that we see it coming.
According to Trump, if you're an international student in the United States, your university could be forced to reporting you to the government for expressing certain political viewpoints. Trump signed an executive order this week asking universities to monitor and report the activities of international students and faculty. He's specifically asking institutions to scrutinize their students and faculty under an immigration law that's designed for espionage, sabotage, overthrowing the U.S. government by force or unlawful activity. Now, his executive order is framed as a measure to combat anti-Semitism, but it specifically targets students and faculty who have expressed pro-Palestinian sentiment or who have participated in campus demonstrations supporting Palestinian rights. So what does this all actually mean? Well, there's a huge risk of misapplication here. Peaceful protests and demonstrations could now be mischaracterized as unlawful activity or even opposition to the U.S. government. Political opinions could be flagged as national security threats. And student activism could be weaponized to justify visa revocation as well as deportation. So if you've attended a protest, posted online, or engaged in any sort of activism related to Palestinian rights since October 7th, 2023, does this executive order apply to you? And the answer is possibly. It orders federal agencies to review civil complaints that were filed as of October 7th, 2023 and forward, meaning past activism could be flagged as a deportation risk. It also puts pressure on universities to report student activities, even if those activities occurred in the past.
So the question then becomes, what are we going to do about it? When the education system is compromised, we have to pick up the slack and spread the information and knowledge that is being suppressed. So supporting independent journalists and revolutionary education projects is going to become more important than ever. We have to start using social media more strategically too, knowing that pretty much anything that we post there is going to be monitored and also likely suppressed. So we should also be following our favorite creators and journalists on platforms off of social media. With the increased surveillance, this is also a good time to get our digital security unlocked. And finally, we can't let petty ideological differences keep us from building coalition with anyone who shares the goal of seeing a free Palestine, because we know those differences will be exploited to separate us. Whatever we do, we can't be intimidated and we can't back down. If anything, we need to keep upping the pressure through escalating direct actions all around the country. If you want to learn more about how we can build community and combat government suppression, check out theconsciouscitizens.org, where we...
Now, it's important to know your rights in this situation, so here's how you can protect yourself. But you also want to be aware of surveillance. Universities cannot legally deport you, but they can monitor what you're doing, as well as report you. So you want to be smart, especially with what you post online and what you do and say at protests. You want to assume that social media is being monitored at all times, so use privacy settings and avoid sharing too much personal information online. You should also do whatever you can to protect your immigration status. Keep copies of all your visa documents with you, as well as proof of your status. Now, if you're targeted, it's really important to seek legal help immediately. Contact an immigration lawyer immediately if there's a threat to your visa or if there's a deportation threat. Also, there are a lot of groups like the ACLU, for example, who can help.
That didn't stop student activists around the country from telling everyone not to vote for Kamala Harris.
You don't want to vote for Jill, vote for Donald Trump. But do not give a vote to Kamala Harris.
It didn't stop Arabs in Michigan, Arab Americans, from actually supporting Donald Trump and holding press conferences supporting him because, get this, Trump promised he was going to be good to them. Oops, he's not being good to you.
Abbas is Arab American and one of a number of Democrats who voted for Trump. Abbas says he hoped Trump would do more than President Joe Biden did to help Palestinians suffering in Gaza.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
But after Trump said Palestinians should leave Gaza so it can be redeveloped, Abbas says not only does he feel betrayed, he's hearing from a number of people angered over his past support of Trump.
People were really frustrated.
How did that turn out? When Jared Kushner literally told you what their plans were for Gaza.
But I'm not sure there's much left of Gaza at this point. And Gaza's waterfront property.
You still chose not to vote for Kamala.
Dearborn, a Detroit suburb, is home to the largest Arab American population in the United States, a community which helped Trump carry the critical swing state. He won 42% of the vote in Dearborn versus Vice President Harris with 36% and Jill Stein with 18%.
Where's Jill Stein? Where is Jill Stein? I was told she was going to lead this resistance. Where's Jill?
And ultimately, I remain committed to a path forward that can lead to a two-state solution. A two-state solution is the only path, and one that ensures Palestinians can finally realize the freedom, security, and prosperity that they rightly deserve.
Kamala Harris is looking real good now, huh? I said Kamala Harris is looking real good now, huh? All you motherfuckers who voted for this man. We sat here, we told you, we warned you, we even put it in your face and tried to fucking remind you.
Y'all wanted to play the fuck around game so goddamn badly. Well, you are fixing to find out very bigly.